think we are now about to start officially.
Okay,
I think let's get some of the signal from my start a little bit. Okay, Lisa and wait, can we start right now? Okay, so I think it's time for, this is again from the Center for ASEAN Studies, Chiang Mai University, Thailand. It's such a great honor to welcome all the speakers and distinguished guests, and also the audience that welcome to our webinar again. Actually, the background that I would like to express in just a few seconds is that this plan of the webinar has been established for a while after the coronavirus occurred, like a couple of years ago. And the agenda and the topic, once we have about the ASEAN studies, we want to mention and very interested about the topic of economics, politics, and also related issues like in social science. But somehow one is turned, the topic from China, the roles of other like trade war, how's the effect to ASEAN. We had a plan with Professor Chosein Yamahata to talk about the new normal of the Myanmar economy after the coronavirus. But immediately after February 1st, 2021, the topic has been meaningless. But the story has been totally, shock to the world. That's why the webinar of today, the next normal of Myanmar, has to be switched to the mode. And we want to see the views from the scholars. And this is the very updated versions after the special talk, special meeting of the leader of the ASEANs, with also the representative from Myanmar in Indonesia. So I would like to have the kind of views and also the story. And today we have very valuable guests from outside Myanmar. Let me introduce myself as the moderator today. My name is Dr. Nisit Pantamit. My background is economics, but I already now have the head of ASEAN studies from Chiang Mai University in Thailand. So it is very good and having an opportunity from the two views from Japan. So the first speaker who will come and give some of the talk about unity reborn in Burma, towards and some multi-ethnic nations building by Professor Chosein Yamahata. And he is now the professor of the global and the area studies from Graduate School of Policy Studies from Aichi University in Japan, in Nagoya. And the second person who will be like very delightful to have him as the second person who deliver the talk today is Mr. Chit. He is now the director. Good afternoon, sir. Can you hear me? So he's the director of the Korean Institutions of Strategic Studies, in Myanmar. So he's gonna deliver the talk about military coup, KNU, federal missions, and ethnic peace in Myanmar. That is the second order of our talk today. Very interesting topic. And the third person, and he is only the lady in this talk today. My older sister, his name is Dr.Makiko Takeda. She's gonna deliver the talk about ethnic women organizations, or EWOs, in democratization as a key agent in responding coup in Myanmar. So it's the view from Japan, right? So she's now the director of, she is the assistant professor at the Department of Policy Studies at the Asian University in Japan, same as Professor Chosein. And last but not least, he is the operation director of Democratic Voice of Burma in Norway. So very outstanding speaker as the last person, Mr. Toshorat. Nice to meet you, sir.
To meet you too.
Okay, so he's gonna speak about the roles of independent media. So the roles of the media is also, interesting under this kind of situations. So the roles of independent media under the Coup Junta in Burma will be the fourth, the talk of our conversations today. So we don't want to waste time. Let's get the story back to Professor Chosein, and he's gonna have 30 minutes from now to mention and deliver his talk. Sir, now stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nisit. And then since he has introduced about each of us in very lengthy way and very impressive way, so I don't need to go further about who I am. And first of all, I would like to say my sincere gratitude to Professor Dr. Nisit and then his Center for ASEAN Studies at Chiang Mai University for organizing this important event at the critical juncture that Burma and her people face. And also, I would like to say thank you to my colleagues who are joining today as a panelists. And let me start straight to my talk. And may I use the screen share? Is it possible to use?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you see?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet, okay. Then let me just.
I think that's okay that we have plenty of time. Do you see the share screen menu, sir, on the bottom?
Yes.
Okay.
What about now? Can you see now?
Not yet, sir.
Not yet?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I already shared, so just a minute.
You have to open the document first and then share.
Yeah, I did this. I opened the document already.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Just a minute, it is working.
So at the same time, you can, all right.
Oops.
Okay.
I think probably now you can see, right?
Yeah, your computer. All right,
Okay.
sir. Here we go. Please.
So thank you. So this is about my short talk today. And it is Unity Reborn in Burma and towards a multi-ethnic nation building. And I will have kind of like pieces of materials which can be categorized under 3 different subtopics. So let me brief. This is the current situation. Then every day within 87 days, 8.9 people have been killed on daily basis. This is the real situation. And I give the credit to AAPP, which is most trustworthy organization which has been recording these data. And then the whole world use this. And then the figure 756 who were killed, murdered by the coup regime in 87 days. This is really speechless situation. What does it mean? So the meaning is that the own the institute of the state, in this case, Tamador, or the military, wage war against own citizens and treating the protesters and people from different walks of life as enemies, and then try to crush them as what the military normally do in battlefronts. And on top of that, they are arbitrary arrest. And also they are a kind of like harassment of different kinds, intimidation, and then frightening the communities at day and nights. All these are affecting negatively on economy as a whole, as well as the social system. Most importantly, the rule of law, absence of rule of law, instead of rule of law in place, martial law implemented by any military commanders from top to down are the reality that Burmese people face. To repair the economy of the countries, to sustain the economy of the country, of course, actors and producer, consumers, and all stakeholders involved in the economic systems are normally human beings. They must have fair opportunity and certain level of freedom to activate their activities, which can be called as an economic function to generate the GDP and revenue, and how that should be regulate and circulate and share should be the function of government that has been disrupted. And then central government, the central bank and the other banks are also in the disarray because of the current situation. So I want to analyze and also share my view with you why that kind of coup has been done at this recent time on February 1, after Burma experienced 10 years of its openness with the certain kind of democracy, with the kind of people and communities and organizations started feeling confidence about freedom from fear. Why it happened? That need to be understood fully. So there are 4 coups in the past, and each coup has the intent by the military full stage coup. Then 1958, their intent was to overrule the legitimate winner after the breakaway party of the Pasapala, which lost, which has a close time with military, lost the election. And then, that is 1962. Then the next coup in 1962 and 1988, also they have an intent to buy time after coup for drafting the constitution to guide country towards fake socialism or pseudo-socialism. So it took about 12 years. The same thing applied in 1988. It took 12 to 13 years to have 2008 constitution. And again, in 2021, they have an intent to disqualify the legitimate winner, and they have an intent to buy time to draw another type of constitution which can satisfy what they need as a military institution to run the country, own the country, and cage the people. So these are the things. So 2021, therefore 2021 coup is not a new type. It is a repetition and reutilization of all the intents that apply by military in the past 3 coups. So what is the result? Because of that, they kill the protesters and the 8 or 9% per daily basis. So what happened? In the interim result is military lost own country. People and society are not obeying, not letting military to rule. and every day from all corners of the work life, and then across the nation, they are against. And what does it mean? Coup was negative thing, but people across the nation, across different borders are united. The son who rule the country with the weapons, soldiers or military, in Burmese, it's called Sita. There are 4 other sons who are against them. The Junta students who are the fundamental component and element of every sons, and for the soldiers, for the religious clergies, and also Takeda. So another son is students, Junta, another one is the religious clergies, and then chiefs, another one's the religion, another one's the Takeda, another one is the Pida. So all 4 sons are united against another son who bullied the country through 4 coups. That is how it happened. Then we need to look into why the military before coup wanted coup after its affiliated party lost election held in 2020. Because they have a very controlled document, so-called 2008 Constitution, which was approved with the fake referendum during the Cyclonagis. So that Constitution is very central. The Constitution, I must say, was very central for peace building and for the election control, and also government who can be chief in promoting democracy and also backpedaling democracies. So NLD was elected government, legitimate government since 2015 elections. So that government has been promoting democracy by using the national reconciliation as a key words, and even compromising with the military. That in turn resulted in distancing from the many ethnic parties' ambition and trust and hope across all the territorial ethnic boundaries and so on. The parliament has been also, due to the constitution, could be controlled by military. Executive branch government also has 3 ministers and 1 vice president. Union Election Commission are the independent, but that was normally appointed by previous government, and NLD sustained the most members who were actually military members, hired by previous government, the insane government. So if the function of the 2008 Constitution is really functioning well, that means the independent branches of power are working very well to install the rule of order and then guarantee the human rights and freedoms, and also economic opportunities for each and every the ethnic people and normal people without any discrimination and marginalization. Everything will be fine. But Constitution itself at the full of defect because designed by military to give military as the upper hand, controlling parliament, then pulling down the leg of government, and they cannot control USC fully. So that in past election 2020, they accused for the election fraud and UEC as the excuses and tried to stage coup. So what is the result? Peace process has been gone, then systematized already the in place election system has been gone, which was the fundamental of the democratic criteria. The democracy in process has been disturbed as well. So every day 8.9 people are killed. That is tyranny. It is no way that system that military is installing and waging own country should be allowed to continue. Therefore, 4 sons are united, and then a new unity has been born during the term of NLD between 2016 to 2020, there were division in terms of hope, expectation, and collaboration between NLD and ethnic parties. Everything could be restored. Because of coup, because the common enemies was born. It's a military authoritarianism. So civil disobedience, General Strike Committee by ethnic nationalities, General Strike Committee, then EAO, Ethnic Armed Organization, and civil society organization, and student unions and people all join hands. Even though they know losing life is a reality, that Generation Z has been sacrificed as the head of all battlefront against the military. So we need to look into the future, look for the future. How? Burmese alone, inside struggle alone, cannot win over military so quickly. What does it mean? Implication is that more lives will be lost, more economy will be disturbed, and then all economic function will be stopped, and then people lives will be miserable, and then fundamental basic human needs will be in shortage if the humanitarian assistance as well as protection of human rights and human security cannot become in time in both intervention form and cooperation form. The many millions people may face difficult situation. But Burma is not like Syria, like many researchers and many experts said, because in case of Syria, they have many factions and power struggle among the religious groups. Or Syria has been a ground of the proxy war as well, and many weapon producers are selling weapons, and many funds from the different religious sects has been flowing, and many Arab and then ethnic Islamic countries are also in two camps supporting. In case of Burma, it is different. There's no friction or no confrontation because of power struggle among the religious groups. And ethnic diversity become the ethnic unity, and the different religious people are also uniting and standing behind each other. From the Rohingya to Shan to Kachin to Mon to the Kaya to Chin. And Burma knows what went wrong due to wrong info, the wrong history. They have been neglected the ethnic peoples and their needs and their aspiration. Then now everyone is in one hand, on one agenda, one nation, one people approach, and one agenda. So this is the kind of the summing up about what I said now. Up to now, divided Burma was there in pre-independence era under the British colonial rule. That was united through the agreement done by Palang Agreement that was initiated by ethnic leaders and Burma side General Aung San. And then independence struggle, and Burma got independence after General Aung San was assassinated. So united Burma after the independence. But then introduction of the parliamentary democracy short-lived the democracy 2 times. But during that time, the Burmanization, the Buddhization tried to impose, then Burmanization tried to marginalize ethnic nationalities, demands, needs, and aspiration, and then nationalization of the economy, and then fake pseudo-socialism, Burmese way to socialism, which brought down country to what the poverty became the LDC, one of the LDC. Then military used the exploitation of natural resources to pump up whatever they need. And then exploitation of natural resources will be synchronously promoted by the securitization. Then militarization, the bureaucracy, and all 3 power branches, and the ethnic lands, all brought country down, people down towards hopeless situation. So these are associated with the first coup, second coup, and third coup. After introduction of the pseudo-democracy after NLD 1, Then divided Burma is again happened between the NLD to some extent with the territorial ethnic parties about common expectation. There also the pledge need of implementing full panel agreement, even need to modify to include more ethnic groups to give self-determination and equality. And under the national reconciliation, even though NLD tried to compromise with the gentleman agreement to run the country by putting Aung San Suu Kyi herself as a hostage for the country and system to have a kind of free space to get rid of the fear, to enjoy freedom from fear, that now Generation Z and all are entitled, and because of that, loss of freedom, then opportunity to get rid of freedom from fear, they cannot go back to the darkness. So divided Burma again, united because of coup and coup subsequent killing fee situation in Burma, united all the ethnic parties, ethnic people, and all to be united again. That is what I call unity reborn. This is second independence struggle, but not from colonial rule, but from internal colonialism run by military. Then National Unity Government, ethnic armed organization, CDM, General Strike Committee, nationalities, and general public with the Gen Z are all in the up mood to finish their agenda, their mission, with external support or without external support. However, a new setting they have built, Democratic Charter announced by CRPH, and that need to be developed further to satisfy what all the ethnic nationalities need with the full confidence and trust, and then create their visions and mission to be formulated. So federal, only by doing so, the federal democratic nation can be built, as what all said. Then CRPH has been running as a legislative body, as a legitimate body of the past election, endorsed also by the present or the coalition of all groups. And the National Unity Government is functioning, is ready to function, and is already in the process of functioning to run the country as an executive branch. And then People's Security Association, organization at community and town levels are also in place. And then NUG has started already distributing the needs to the refugees, and that must follow for CDM as well. So everything is in partial process. What do they need now is recognition with activities by outside world, activities in tangible form. Because present scenarios by military destroying humanity, peace, and stability cannot be stopped only by the internal forces of Burma, led by NUG or CRP, NUG, executive form, executive function, CRPH and legislative function, and the public security organization, a community and towns in the security function. Because state, there's no judicial branch in place. And then there's no weapons to counter the military forces. So outside diplomatic maneuver, as well as human security cooperation form that can be implemented by different types of programs like monitoring the human rights and human security and humanitarian assistance delivery function and rights protection function, that all are necessary. That can be provided by only international community, including the regional, sub-regional organization, including ASEAN. Their role are very important because scenarios are many. There are 9 I just listed to sum up. Waging a war against citizens by military, terrorizing with their action to frighten that cause loss of lives. and destroying the economy to the bottom, and confronting the committing the international crimes, starting from crime against humanity, even though it is not the war between two armed groups, but they are treating like a war crimes by shooting the media and then medics and prohibiting ambulance to collect and assist the wounded and injured. They are burying the people alive and putting arsons and so many things, and also like the arbitrary arrest and like humiliating and also harassing both sexually and other ways, which can be treated as categorized as inhumane. And then some fallen heroes and their bodies cannot be retained back for funeral by their own families unless they pay lump sums. And also, how to say, the way they are cutting the social media and Wi-Fi and then cutting the information flow and blackouting the information, it's like, how to say, they're putting the people and citizens as a hostage again under the cage. And bombing villages and the ethnic lands to counter the KIA and KNU are also, it's not unacceptable in the international rules. So key audiences from 5 directions, at least 6 directions engaging UN has been issuing the series of worries and concern, then describe statements and potential about considering about the R2P in a time frame, but it may delay in many ways. I can categorize all those actions from the international side, regional side, neighbor side, and others as the good, the bad, and uglies. The good side of the UN, of course, statement concerning the worries, statement about the dangers and threat, and to save the humanities, and to support the democracy and protect the human rights. Series a statement from Human Rights, the United Nations Commission for Human Rights, and then also UN General Assembly and General Secretary, and so on. United Nations Security Council, even though China and Russia and some Asian countries, including Vietnam and Indonesia, they don't join. So the bad thing from the UN side actions can be said, most are non-binding statements, and they have limitations in countering veto powers before making substantial tangible action endorse the decision. And partner, alliance, and friendly members of the world communities to Burma and Burma Democratization, Burmese people such as UK, US, and all European countries, including South Korea, Japan, and even in Turkey. Some of them put targeted sanction, and some of them independently in alliance, also in the Quad, gunboat diplomacy, showing off the military exercises. But some states don't follow that targeted session, even to the key individuals from military hierarchy and affiliated organization in the corporate sectors. The ugly thing is that not cutting linkage with the military in many ways, officially. And their countries need to be considered about embargoes that hasn't been in place yet. ASEAN, the most important, like EU, it has a great potential, it has a great concern, and that it has done the latest, the summit. It was downgraded in the labeling as a leaders meeting. ASEAN was always active in a way to enter between Burma and UN and Western democracy. But sometime, not sometime, almost every time, I have to say, this is my personal view, too little, too late. So for the sake of ASEAN's name stability and then true ASEAN centrality in its mechanism, not earlier times like a Cold War period since 1967, and present period with the validity of Quad, ASEAN's centrality need to be promoted with its innovated action which can be interpreted by international communities and Burma side as implementable. But so far actions are just having meetings and then issuing the 5 statements. That is good in the broadest term, and stop violence, and then also like the start dialogue, and also the accept the special, and then also accept the humanitarian assistance, and also the release of political prisoners. There are 2 bad points. There one statement that issue or ultimatum has no time frame. That is one. Then carrot looking but without stick. Another one is that the ASEAN demands, number 1, or recommendation number 1 is all parties should stop violence. But there's only one party which stage war against own citizens. So not all parties. That indirectly distort the reality. And that association like ASEAN should be very careful. Third point is that there shouldn't be any discrepancy between what ASEAN as an organization released as their recommendation or demand, and some ASEAN leaders released as their individual leaders, the recommendation or request or demand. And one more thing is that with the international community's decision and demand issued by UN Security Council, and so on, there are some kind of discrepancy in the language. Language is very important in diplomacy. In case of implementation for the right diplomacy and good diplomacy, I think language need to be accurate, but it must have a certain flexibility to interpret so that diplomats can maneuver and make the dialogue partners whom diplomats will meet, and especially and why will meet, and craft the details. But too vague and misleading should be avoided. So that is ugly, the bad part. And then the ugly part, as I said, no clear time frame, no accountability for those who are responsible for the committing war crimes, at least crime against humanity, even genocide killing, because they have an intent to wipe out a group who has politically against the military coup. So this is the genocide killing is measured and judged based on intent to kill. And that is a widespread and sometimes indiscriminate and state plan, systematic planning. So it's a political group, not ethnic or religious group. So genocide and killing after the Rohingya, and method cleansing after the Kayin, Shan, Kachin, Chin, all have been done before the Rohingya. The new genocide killing could be even accused. So ASEAN regional language should be very, very careful. That is my personal view. Neighboring country, Thailand has been very good, and then accepting the refugees and allowing the humanitarian access to the refugees staying that side. And China, India also has done, and China used to be good for the Kachin refugee in the past. But nowadays, China has sometimes closed the border since the coronavirus situation. So then some country has a loan offer, and then corporate sectors, some intransparent money transfer, some type of checkbook diplomacy maybe on the way or already. So this kind of thing is a bit bad, and siding with the regime clearly without stating or criticizing about the coup itself was a bad action. The ugly thing is probably country, as all Burmese know from the old walks life, and then some countries also know that China maybe and behind coup, and some country or some organization may have even the prior instant knowledge or prior the guess about the coup. The protecting at the regime, at the United Nations Security Council decision processes, also these are not acceptable as ugly actions. What I'm saying here, the good, the bad, the ugly action have purpose This is not criticizing UN or regional bodies or neighboring countries, but it is as a basis to discuss in order to produce more ideas and actions that can be exchanged among all stakeholders from international side and domestic side, including NUG, to be considered as a part of main implementer in the diplomatic and all preventive games, preventive measures for Burma and her peoples. And other countries like Russia, and siding with the regime without stating about the coup and attending the Tamador Day. On that day, many hundreds of people were killed. These are the ugly part and also bad part. Arms and logistics supply to the military stay continue, and protecting the regime at the UNSC processes together with China. These are the negative factors which I interpret as ugly, and many of my colleagues may agree. So now the international community and regional bodies, and then friends from the Society of the Nations, then Asian counterparts, and even non-state actors of the global civil society and media need to understand the present crisis in Burma is not just coup. It is Burma, push Burma to point of no return. Military cannot be treated as a military, and military won't be treated as a military of the country. Military already lost country, society, and people. They are criminals. How do we bring those criminals for justice, at the same time giving them certain type of face-saving escape route, but there must be transitional justice. It has been long overdue. From the Kayan ethnic cleansings, Kachin, Shan, Mon, Chin, Yakai, Rohingya, everyone, and now Burma. Oh. So international community and policymakers from regional bodies and independents, scholars, and then all corporate sectors need to think about the social responsibility and responsibility to protect. The responsibility to protect need to be studied with responsibility to protest. Without protesting loudly, and without protesting by issuing statements, without protesting by implementing the actions, it may encourage military for its survival. It may push military surviving. That can be interpreted as further tyranny in Burma. On the day of ASEAN summit meeting or leaders meeting as a downgraded name, and even after that, military leaders announce, then they may not follow the decision, it's not pledge, and then continue killing. So we have to end the tyranny towards promoting people's survival. So that we have to follow what ethnic leaders, ethnic organization, and then ethnic civil society organization joining hand with NUG, CRPH, People's Security Committee, International Community, UN, ASEAN, about what they have found, what they have decided of the new setting they have already got in their hands, even for the process towards a new permanent constitution. That need to be recognized by instructed functioning, dialoguing with the NUG. By doing so, Burma can be, but Burma's killing field can be, Burma's situation of killing field at now and near future can be safe. That will make Burmese people to a tribe. That is the interest of the neighboring country and ASEAN for its own namesake, its new ground for revitalizing its validity in the era of globalization with the regional integration on the security front with the Quad, and so on. So therefore, I would like to conclude my talk. The new unity has been born, that is domestically, and that need to be recognized. How to recognize need to be done through the dialogue and recognition with the NEG functions. At the same time, letting all the stakeholders to be on the dialogue table, not recognizing military, artificially or hidden way or diplomatic way. And the message after the ASEAN summit need to be clarifying with a time frame, with the recommendation of tangible actions in order very swiftly so that newborn unity in Burma can be utilized. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Chosein. I think he's opened the talk and it's pretty clear about the topic that he mentioned, the unity reborn in Burma. So, the feels like that he delivered, in the first part, talking about, they have a unity of the people, from inside Myanmar right now. And even it has some of the factions or the stakeholders, but some of the all-in-one words that you mentioned is like a point of no return of the people. So the Myanmar people have to move on. It seems like many well-known of international organization that set up the talk. And ASEAN is probably the first mover to bring. And you question about the ASEAN's leader meeting, is that the summit or not? Because the stakeholder who actually act inside and was the people who got the impact from this kind of violence has been out of the talk. So you already mentioned about, so no matter what happened, the stakeholders have to give a dialogue and implement it without only talk. I think that's what I can catch up from the first round from Professor Chosein. So thank you very much. And I think we come back to get some of the question and answer. Right, next, let me move on to the director of the current Institution of Strategic Studies of Myanmar. So Mr. Chit he's gonna come up to have the talk about military coup for the KNU, federal missions and ethnic peace in Myanmar. So let's see what happened and then we can, catch up from the talk. So sir, you have 30 minutes from the talk, sir, please.
Thank you, Professor. So I'm really privileged to join this session, and also would like to say thank you to Chiang Mai University and Professor Chosein as well. Thank you for bringing me on board. So let me share the screen of my presentation. Okay, so I can share this screen because I'm using phone now. The electricity of my computer battery is gone. So let me talk. Let me talk without the presentation. But okay. Sorry. Yeah, the electricity is off, so the computer's battery is gone. Yes, my topic is about the military coup, the KNU federal mission and ethnic peace in Myanmar. The most part of the military coup is already covered by Professor Chosein, but I would like to add some points. On the military coup on February 1, so it was quite surprised. So we didn't expect it. But we heard it. But it's coming. It's coming. They are going to take the state power by military means. But we did not believe because of the constitution, the 2008 constitution, if the drafted by their own and forced to endorse, and also the constitution is military supremacy in terms of the institutional autonomy, and also 25% in the parliament, upper house, lower house, even in the state and regional government, and they down to the very small self-administrated zone. So I thought they was enjoying. They don't need to they don't need to do that sort of very ugly acts of military coup. They already got for what they want. But unfortunately, the military could take over on the 2021 February 1. So they are given the reason of they did it by the according to the constitution, according with the law. But actually, it is not. It is not unconstitutional. It is an unconstitutional act, because if they wanted to have a power to take care of the country in the emergency situation, they must have the legally transfer power from the president. But they didn't do it. They just arrested, and also they take a military coup. The second one is unethical. So the military have mentioned again and again, they are moving and they are going to the democracy, and also they are really value for the democracy. But in the realities, their ad is not unethical and also unacceptable. So last 5 years under the administration of NLD, the ethnic people were not very happy because of their policy on the federalism, and also their ad on the or what should I say, is quite Burmese majority oriented, the policies and the laws and that sort of things. A lot of happened during the time of NLD government. However, the people are united after the coup, and also even they don't like the NLD, and they didn't vote for the NLD. Those people, all ethnic people, they come on the roads and the show off they against the military coup, and they are not agree with that kind of act. So this and also unacceptable. Even the ethnic people don't like the NLD, but they fight together against the military. The next point is the KNU, the KNU Federal Mission. I did the time people very well known about the KNU already, but let me repeat it again. So KNU has they have a vision, the 4 principles. They have a vision and the 4 principles of Bahuti. That it is the Bible, I will say Bible or the Quran, or entire Quran nation. So the KNU has started for the separated country. They demanded for the separated country. But in 1956, at the Moscow Congress, they realized that they cannot have it's not reality to demand to be a separated nation. So it is better to have a federalism together with all ethnic people, including Burma, including Burmese. So they have changed their goal in 1956. Yeah. And also KNU has been consistently against the generation of the military, as well as the generation of the government, even the elected government. So we can look back to the history. In 1962, the second coup, At the time, the UNU, the former Prime Minister UNU, and they came to the Thailand and refused, and they found like the government. So can you provide the security for him and make an alliance, and also they fight together. And in 1988, it's come again, the same scenario. So, and now in 2021, the same scenario as well is repeatedly after. So that is why as on 2nd February, just next day of the military coup, KNU called for an emergency meeting to form the welcome committee for the people, those who came to refuse in KNU territory, and also they order they give the order to all KNU district and the brigades. So they know that it will happen soon. So the consequently is there's so many political activists, politicians, even CRBH now in the KNU area. Can you provide the security, shelter, and the necessary the protection? Yes, let me back to the dream of the dream of the goal of the KNU or the current as a nation, the 4 principles or Bauji. The first thing is surrender out of question. The second, we shall retain our aim. The third, current sovereign state must be complete or recognized, and we shall decide our own political destiny. So that means we will rely on our own, and also we are quite keen to have the self-determination. So yes, again, and also in the objective of the current national union, they have 4 objectives. So the first one is to gain the right of the equality and self-determination for the current people. The second, to establish a current state with a just and fair territory and self-determination. And the third point, to establish a federal union based on the democracy and self-determination. The fourth, to gain a basic right, democracy, equality for the current people and all ethnic nationality of Burma. So you can see in the objective as well as the 4th principle of Baoji, the current people are quite they came to have the first equality, second self-determination, and also they would like to have they would like to form together with the other ethnic people and the majority of Burma to begin a real democratic federal union. Again, and also the KNU in this objective, KNU objective also consider the right of the minority people. Let's say some the sub ethnic nationalities, let's say, and also even the Rohingya. So what KNU has been doing since the coup? So KNU issued the sovereign statement that rejected the military coups, and also they are they strongly condemn on the mass killing and the mass arrest of the protester and demonstrator. They I think 3 or 4 statement is already issued since military coup. So during I think at the end of February, the military state administration council they approached KNU through the third party. They would like to meet with, they would like to negotiate, or they would like to persuade the KNU, because of the CRPH is already in KNU area. So the military, they want it, but KNU response is they were very angry because of, so you did that sort of bad things, and also we cannot meet with you. Even you want to meet with me, but we can't meet with you because of, if you do this thing according to the human rights, according to the democracy principle, according to the NCA charters. You have to do this, this. So if you don't do it, we cannot be meet with you. So, and also the military were very angry. So, yeah. And also, as I already mentioned, the KNU received 1,000 of the CDM staff, the government staff, and politicians, including CRPH members, activists, youth, members of civil society organization, and also they provide shelter, food, security, and now they are giving a military training for the youth who refused and who came into the KNU area and who are willing to fight back to the SAC. Yes, the next point is national unity government between KNU solution. Now the NUG is already found. Before they found it, they had a several meeting with the KNU to get involved to participate in their the government. But KNU is relying. They quite what should I say? They're quite sensitive on the charter part 1 and part 2, Federal Democracy Charter. The charter part 1 is fine for the KNU principle. But charter part 2 is charter part 2 and part 1 it is contradicted each other. So what KNU one is the self-determination and also the fair treatment, but the CRPH and the NUG, they are quite. I would say they're quite arrogant on the legitimacy. What they say, we are the only one legitimated the people and person, but they don't realize they are in the KNU area. So the KNU providing the security for them. Yes, so they have all territory of the Myanmar. They have to govern or they have to manage. It must be under the NUG, the government legitimacy. So they don't have the agreement, but can you support in principle, but not in the political agenda. So another problem of the CRPH or NUG, they don't have a clear vision of what sort of federalism and the people want. So even in this situation, they already have a sovereign meeting with ethnic organization, including KNU, but they don't realize it yet that I see. And also, as I mentioned before, the arrogant on legitimacy and the two they are thinking and their ways of working is too centered to the 2008 constitution thinking. So even though they abolished the 2008 constitution, but still their ways of thinking and their ways of working, they are still enjoying that sort of style. Yes. Okay, for the KNU sides, KNU refused to participate in the national unity government. And KNU provide sort of the protection and send other necessary things, but not fully support the CRPH political agenda or political agenda. So what KNU prefer? They prefer more inclusive self-determination rights and recognition of 70 years long their struggle and existence. That means legitimacy is not only in the hand of the CRPH or not only in the hand of the NLD or not only in the hand of NUG. Because of the one significant, the KNU has a different between the KNU and other MCRAs is that the KNU has they have a internal democratic practice since the organization has founded. So every 5 years they have a congress, they have an election at the central level, at the township level, at the district level. So they have a democratic practice, and also the KNU organization not as a one-man show organization. So some ethnic organization, the top leader is that he has a supreme power. So but KNU is not like this. So KNU is totally relies on the principle and the policy adopted by the Congress every 5 years. So even though the chairman or some higher position people wants to do something out of that policy, no, they cannot do that. The example is in 2018, the suspension of the peace process. The vice chairman, they agree with the military for acceptance of the one single army. But when they came back to the headquarters, as also they rejected this agreement and also suspended the peace process. Yeah. The next, I would like to move also, to the ethnic people, or why ethnic people engage in this military coup. So their engagement is, and their expectation is quite, their goal is a bit different from the vast majority of the Burmese people, and also even in the NLD supporter. So there's the General Strikes Committee nationally, GHCMs, that composed of many multi-ethnic groups. So, and also they have actively participated and in this movement. So they have the one is to end all for all dictatorship, not only the military dictator, because of because of ethnic people, they will suffer not only from the military dictatorship, but also the elected dictatorship. So they don't want they don't want this kind of any of dictatorship form. They don't want it. The number two is to abolish the 2008 constitution. We have to rebuild. We have to rewrite. So we want more democracy and ethnic right. As the third one is more or less related to the second point, that they would like to establish a real federal democratic union that they have never been enjoyed yet until now. The last point is the release all detainees and unjustly detain the leaders and the citizens. So just that's the 4 points of their demand. The ethnic people believe that the military and the NLD have a same attitudes on the federalism. That you can see now what NUG or CRPH is doing is quite clear. So that is why the organization they carefully support, carefully welcome those to the CRPH. So what I realize is either the military or the NLD, they prefer the very centralized sort of the democracy, and they are not willing to recognize the self-determination, the term self-determination. Yeah. So I came to know these things through the peace dialogue. So I've been assisting to the KNU leadership particularly in the peace process of peace dialogue. Yeah. So many ethnic youth organization, ethnic youth, civil society organization, ethnic youth, the student and ethnic organization have engaged in the movements against the military coup. That's clear that we don't want the military anymore. So the last one I would like to highlight is what ethnic people want is the recognition of the differences. Recognition of differences means not only the language, literature, culture, and religion, and also they need to consider self-ethnic minority like the Rohingya, as well as the self-ethnic nationality like even for example in the Shan state, the Ta'ao, the Bo'o, yeah. So they would like to have the kind of the equally treatments, and the self-determination is necessary, and the federalism is only way to answer for the restoring of the conflict and the creation of peace. Yeah, this is the end of my presentation, and thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.
All right, can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Thank you, Director Saul, for deliver the views. Unfortunately, that we could not have the text from your document. So probably later I may ask you to have some of the words or the statements, if you don't mind, from Professor Chosein. But
yes,
let me briefly give summarize about the talk. The voice from the KNU, itself needs, like the four significant objectives, and all of them equalizations of the people included. And the denomination of the junta or the Tamado seems not to be realized from the first place, no matter which kind of the episode of the coup, right? So the peace process has been told about the story. The KNU and the minority groups have been discussed about this for a very, very long time, by several decades. And it seems so very difficult. That's why once you mention about what happened to the youth right now, about the KNUs, like they also have some of the, like what we call a support or the help from the outside of the KNU. But it seems not to be the way that the KNU proposed to do, right? Because the federalism, it has to be the equalizations and the freedom and the recognitions of the cultures and the minority life. And that is probably the unity that Professor Chosein just also mentioned. That's very the harmony and go in the same way. But right now, we want to get a response from the third person. Let's see from the women organization respond about this kind of view. Of course, I will come back and ask some of the questions as same as the audience from Facebook Live right now that we have now. Also, so please be patient with that, sir. Like director. So now the third person, Dr.Makiko Takeda, would like to show us about the views of the response from the organizations of the ethnic women in Myanmar. So from what you have, and also the opinion will be welcome this next 30 minutes from now. Dr. Makiko, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, of course.
Yes, okay. So thank you very much for inviting me over these important issues, and thank you very much, for letting me talk today. I among the older panelists, I'm the only woman, and also I'm the only Japanese. So therefore, today I'd like to focus on women, and especially ethnic women in Myanmar's democratizations, and also what they are striving to do to restore democracy in responding coup. And also the perspective from Japan. That is not really Japanese government perspective, but rather the general public the perspectives. So let me share the screen. So as already the Dr. Yamahata and also Mr. Sochi and mentioned, so what is quite different from the past protest and also the current process is the sort of like a new phenomenon and the building of the new alliance. So as you know that because of the divisions that actually started colonial era and also worsened under the military government. So the Myanmar citizens could not be really united to move forward. And that was the sort of obstacle to peace process move forward and also democracy. But this time, so due to the help of social media as well, and so minorities people have known democratic struggle of pro-democratic majority Burma, and as well as majority came to realize that brutal suppression on the ethnic minorities by being suppressed by the military by themselves. So. And they expressed even the apology to the ethnic minority people that they didn't really take an action enough and as necessary, and especially in the case of Rohingya. And so now with the clear common enemy, and everybody and in Myanmar were quite united. So that is actually the very new phenomenon and for this the current movement. But in fact, and the women, of course, women have been active and in the last protest as well. But this time, and as well as this time, and women are actually at the forefront of the strike. And in many cases, they are leading protest. The current wave of protest started with the general strike by factory workers a few days after the military coup. And together with women's labor unions and the women's young women's activists. So the factory workers' strike actually catalyzed the later protest. And many of those who participated in the strike was women. And also now, so more than 50% of those joining CDM, including the teachers and also doctors, women, especially young women. And women's activists and also politicians have also helped mobilize crowd to join the protest. So they strictly follow the non-violent means. And that is also the same philosophy, political philosophy of Aung San Suu Kyi. And so, and for promoting human rights and also the protest peacefully. So it could be argued that, so they are really forefront this time, and especially because they peacefully protest. And unlike the civil war and between the ethnic armed organizations and also military, where both parties use lethal forces. But because of the determination to fight against democracy, fight against the military, so the many lives are lost, as already Dr. Yamahata mentioned, and over 750 people are lost, and also 4,000 are detained, and many are women. And even though they lost their lives, they are really determined to fight against dictatorship. But actually, the first victim was a woman, 90 years old woman, and she was shot in head and from the back by the sniper. And also the another brave woman, and her nickname was Angel, and she was helping the other protesters and so on, and she was also shot in the head by the sniper. But she wrote her contact number and also blood type on the wrist, and then wrote on the Facebook that if she dies, and so please donate her body and so on. So she from her message, we can see that how women are determined to fight. So there are many more examples of this. So, and not only the women are really courageous and also the brave, but also they are creative as well. So this poster was about Terming Revolution, and which was organized on the International Women's Day on March 8th. This was women was leading this movement, and this is Tamin, and another name is Lonji. I feel comfortable to call Lonji, so I will call Lonji. And this Lonji is a skirt, women's skirt, and so they hung this women's skirt on the street. That's because in Myanmar, women's bodies under the waist is regarded as dirty, and so therefore the clothes that cover that women's under the waist is also regarded as not very clean. So therefore, people don't really wash the clothes and the men's clothes together with women's skirt. So and therefore there's a superstition that if men go under women's longi, then that means that men's phone is destroyed. Phone is the men's power. So it means that if men go under the longi and they become weakened, so the women use that kind of like a creative strategy as a defensive strategies to stop the security forces to move forward and to approach them. So these are the pictures of that movement, and the women's hung the longis on the street. Not only actually longi, and sometimes like a women's underwear, as well as like sanitary sanitary napkin as well. And so then the picture at the bottom shows that the security forces try not to cross under the longi, but try to remove longi, and then so that they can actually move on. So the women's really use, because they are peaceful, and they try to use alternative way and to stop these brutal suppressions. So in the beginning, so I briefly talk about the new phenomenon and also new alliances, and shared pain and solidify the unity of the diverse group. So, but actually, such inter-ethnic and religious alliance isn't really new for ethnic women, but small scale. So, like after 1988, and so the not only women but also men share the pain in a small scale, but there are some additional pain that are shared among the women. So that is the gendered war experience. So many of the democratic activists from the center were detained and sexually abused and raped, and so they had such experience. But that experience was very similar to the ethnic women's and under the civil war. And so many of them are, reported in the form of report, and that was published by the Ethnic Women's Organization. So there are a lot of evidence that rape was systematically used as a weapon of war in the ethnic regions. So, and also then the exclusion from the formal peace processes and decision making. So because as an ethnic group, and so they had the collective goals of self-determinations and the federal democratic union and so on. So therefore, women's issues are sort of secondary issues and less prioritized over the more important issues. And also the ethnic organization, also male-dominated institutions, and so they could not really express their voice. So that actually was the ground reason for the ethnic women to be united. So that was the strategy for women and to make their voice heard. So therefore, it's in a small scale, but it is not really new, actually. So the pioneer organization is Women's League of Burma, founded in 1999. And there are more organizations founded later, especially after the Cyclone Nagis. They have collective objectives, and so that are like a gender equality and end violence against women, participation of women in peace processes and decision making, and enhancing the roles of women. So, so therefore, in line with that, and on the top of the objectives by ethnic organizations, so these are the objectives. So ethnic women's organizations have collective objectives. So because so military is the most patriarchal institutions. And so if the country goes back to the military rule, then there's no way for women to stop violence against women and also gender equality. The military rule and reinforced that underpinned male-dominated power structure in the society. So the returning to the military regime is a blow to progressing the gender equality agenda by ethnic women's organizations. So therefore, they propose 3 more additional the objectives. So to sum up, so actually this is the for the ethnic women's organization. And the current protest and the fight is not only fight against military dictatorship, but also fight against patriarchal norms that are deeply embedded into the society. So I will move on to what ethnic women's organization doing under the current situation. They are very active, and they coordinated statement and written letter to the UN bodies and ASEAN and Med embassies and donors. And also they rejected military regime by boycotting National Committee on Women. That is a national body to deal with women's issues that was founded under the military government in the past. But their membership was approved under the NLD, because they do not want to cooperate with the military regime, so they rejected. And also they report a situation update and on the SNS, and also join the CDM and work with the diaspora women's group and for the collective actions, such as like writing letter to the government and the protest in the respective countries, as well as they collect the donations to provide humanitarian assistance. So many more, so they are very active on that. So because of the women's endless fight for democracy and justice, and federal union, as well as fight against sexism and racism, there is a sort of positive sign and of social transformation toward more gender equal society. As I explained, that a woman's laundry is regarded as dirty and they cannot wash it together. So, but you can see young generations and the young protesters is wearing women's laundry on their head. So it means that, and so those men, okay, especially younger generation, do not have such a patriarchal view, and so they work together with women, and also they treat women as an equal footing. So that is sort of like among all the bad things, and it was like positive sign. And these are the pictures, another pictures. So I would say another example of the positive indication. Of course, as the Sochi said, there are a lot of issues probably. And also those issues need to be overcome and sooner or later. But out of the 26 cabinet members, the 13 are ethnic nationalities and 8 are women. Thinking about the women's representations in the parliament under the military government, so it was less than 3%. And also even after 2015, the representation rate was about 10%. And this time, so 8 members means nearly 30%. This would be, I think, is the very positive aspect. And because even after the 2018, this is a substantial increase in the number of representation of women. Lastly, I would like to talk about the perspective from Japan. This photo is the Foreign Minister Motegi, the current Minister Motegi, and who visited Myanmar, then met me online in 2020 August. And as the picture shows that, you know, the Japanese government have strong tie with the with Myanmar and historically, and as well as NLD as well. And this is the joint statement and together with the other countries. So as you know, Japan made a joint statement and condemning the use of the lethal force against unarmed people by Myanmar armed forces and associated security services. Since Japan was maintained good relation with Myanmar and also as well as military over the decades, for Japan, it was the first time that a military chief have joined the Western counterparts to condemn the action of another Asian military force on human rights issues. So although they made a statement and a joint statement, and then the Foreign Minister Motegi announced that a Japanese government stopped a new aid, but this is really not old aid. So they stopped new aid, but it has not imposed severe sanctions like the US, UK, EU, and other EU countries. That is really sad fact for me. And I have to say in this regard, and Japan is very too diplomatic, maybe in other words, and indecisive. And other one of the democratic countries which have to respect human rights, we should make clear about the standing point and that whether we support people of Myanmar or military. So otherwise, and the Japanese government probably in the end will lose the trust from both Myanmar public and also military. And I want to focus on the general public viewpoint. So as a good, or maybe good and bad, and Japan is a peaceful society. So after the Second World War, and we do not have any conflict at all. And we do not have army in the name. We have self-defense force though. So therefore, generally, as a public and people don't really pay much attention to the violence, happening outside of Japan, and they didn't pay much attention to Rohingya issues either. But what happened is that because of the coup, more and more people came to know that crisis situation, because in this case, it is very clear, the military attack unarmed civilian. This is not acceptable from the viewpoint of anybody. And no Japanese is happy about the situation. And then they are very sympathetic and sorry for that. And also they are angry about the situation. And another point I want to make is that at the same time, we are so impressed, to be honest, by the strong determination and also the courage Myanmar people have. And especially women. And the women are forefront, even though they have risk of losing their life. And again, so Japan is a people's society, but Japan is also one of the very patriarchal country as well. And there is a clear gender gap. And so even so, the women do not fight because we know the reality that even though we fight and this patriarchal view is embedded into the society deeply and we cannot win over it. So therefore, and because they can survive without fighting, and if they don't really hope for the more, for more. So, but because of this, so how to say, like women are also encouraged by seeing those courageous women. But there is a problem as well. So I have to say, and that is Japanese media coverage. And although the Myanmar issues is reported on the newspapers and also online newspaper as well, and the broadcasting, the coverage of the broadcasting station is very minimal. So all the broadcasting station actually reported the coup and in the beginning of the coup, but not anymore. The private, especially private, the social, the broadcasting station do not really report at all unless some the major development happened, and such as Japanese journalist who was detained. Another point is that many youngsters do not really used to reading newspaper. So therefore, the sort of information they can get is very much limited. So I would say rather than, the broadcasting the same issues over COVID all the time, and we probably need to think, what we should cover by the media. So that's another point I want to make. And also finally, and I want to conclude with a little bit of positive view over these issues. So I don't know whether you know it or not, because it was quite big news in the new outside of Japan. And he is Yoshiro Mori, and who was the former president, prime minister of Japan. And also he was the Tokyo Olympic chief. And 2 months ago, he had to resign because of the sexist remark. And then, so he apologized in front of the media. But all women knew that, what he doesn't even understand what he was apologizing for. And through the attitude of him, and we can see it, and he doesn't understand anything. But these are, what I want to imply is that this is the sort of the view that possessed by majority of men, especially in the older generations. So in case of Japan, so transforming the country to be a more gender equal country takes long time because it is really difficult to change. However, I think that if Myanmar overcome this coup, then so I think Myanmar has much more potential and also power to transform the society to more gender equal society, and also for the benefit of all the people in Myanmar. Thank you very much. That's all from me.
So we can see that the roles of ethnic women organizations in the period of the current state in Myanmar. And Professor Makiko already shows that the unity of the women has been changed because, compared to the period of the fight, the women has now, you can say like you said like step to the front line, right? And the longi and the red color represent something that's in the broader and shows to the world that now at the women, we also want to be, on the front line just like the men. And the things that you add up, it just like amaze me in terms of we call what like the genders. Right now, the roles of technology and social media and so on has been flooded out of the Myanmar, but the limitations of the media inside has been cut off, has been limited. That's going to be another talk from the director. But when you mention from the Japanese media, though, you said like right now, it seems like a declining trend has another things. So it's not a good time for kind of the headline news to mention from what happened, because from inside and outside, it's not synchronized in a good way. So I think we're going to have some discussion about this later on. I think we have some talk. And last but not least, the operations director, Mr. Chosein are here with us, and it's probably coincidentally matched with the roles of the media, because the roles of independent media has been, talk of the town. I could not contact with the Myanmar friends as same as the speakers on the screen right now. So what happened inside, and what is the response, and what your views about this? So the director, please give the opportunity, sir, for 30 minutes for just for the first round, please. I cannot. Please open the microphone, please.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, now.
Sawadi, Ajahn. Thank you very much.
Sawadi krab. Sawadi krab, Ajahn.
Sorry, I was hiding in Burma for 80 days. I just arrived.
Congratulations.
And also thanks for Chiang Mai University. I have long affiliation with. I was a Thailand bureau chief in Chiang Mai for 6 years before I'm based in Burma, Myanmar for another 9 years. I was throughout the Coup for 80 days. Now today is 88 days, so I just got out. That's why you cannot find me. So I very agree with my previous, three speaker or my, from Professor Chosein about, Unity Reborn. Because of my 80 days experience, I'm as a exile student, ADA activist, Burmese never unite like this time. I mean, across ethnicity and also across, across religious, even, we have a very divided society, became unity under the name of federal democracy that the other speaker, so Chit mentioned about, and I fully understand, even on the early days of protest, we were confused, especially among the activists, whether it is release Aung San Suu Kyi or it is federal democracy or federal union. What are we fighting for? That kind of ongoing, intense and discussion among the organizer, protester, ethnic leader, man, and also media, what are we reporting? Or this is also very real, and this reflects real situation. And also, I mean, Professor Makiko, I met you in Japan, and of course, let me add, the leading rural woman in this movement. Remember, after Coup in 1st February, a bit silent, first movement came out in Mandalay from the medical student on the 5th of April. And then the Yangon movement started in 6th of February, led by two women, known as Tinza. She became a deputy minister for youth in NUG government. And another one is Asst, the ethnic woman. These two brave women started striking Yangon. They lead 30 women. I was in downtown, and then there was some message coming, hey, there is protester in Latt University area. We were running, we saw two young brave women, wearing the current dress, leading the mob. This is where the movement started. So I have to acknowledge all these, women leadership role in these spring revolutions. But my talk is mainly, of course, focus on media before I go. And there is also ongoing controversy response about ASEAN 5 facts. But I did as a ASEAN, because we are now Center for ASEAN Study. I mean, I did myself Asian study in Australia for quite a long time. I have a very interesting Asian study, especially in ASEAN. Probably ASEAN as a whole, as an organization, this is the first time, they address issues. And I have very cautious optimism. And like Professor Chosein said, little late and doing little. And also because there's no timeline and there is no mechanism. And also there is no mention about release of political prisoner. Who are they going to dialogue? And also Professor Chosein already make the point that, both sides should be, stop violence. There is no both sides. There is only one-sided, and also when I live in Burma, in short, before my go-to-media presentation, I was living in Yangon, under the syndicate crime mafia, those security force in uniform with guns. That's how I live, And also, sorry about the Japanese media, NHK trying to interview me, and I said only I know me as, and also, the Japanese newspaper reached me. I said, tell me about the media situation. I said, sorry, I can't, but it is anomalious. This is what I brief into CNN and also a few other international media. But they want with name, and then I declined to also contribute to the Japanese media. So here is my media presentation. Let me get. Oops, not this one.
Just reshare again, sir. I think.
I have to do it. I'm gonna say.
Yeah, you can just do whatever.
Where is a reshare?
That means touch the share screen again.
Okay.
Or cancel the previous one, maybe.
I can't see only, but if I cannot reshare, I will do it from presentation from here.
Take it easy, sir. I think it's very.
Where is
having pretty uptown.
You just close the window,
okay.
that window, and
Close the
then
window.
go back to the share content. The green one. Click the green one again.
Resume share.
Yeah, screen share again.
Share screen again.
I can't see screen from my side.
I think you better.
You have to close this one.
Okay, close this window. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then open your another PowerPoint.
Go to the PowerPoint.
There you go. Can you see it?
You have to reshare.
Here, I can see from mine.
Yeah, you need to screen share again. After opening your PowerPoint,
okay.
Go back to the screen share and click and share.
New share, right?
Yeah, new share. Yeah.
And then.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Right.
And then.
And go to PowerPoint.
Yeah, slideshow from the beginning. Yeah.
Okay. Here we go, sir.
Great.
Sorry about this.
Thank you.
I should have done better than this. Of course, you maybe know that DVB already 29 years in existence as an exile media in Norway, but we moved into Burma and under Thet government invitation saying that we are democratization and you guys can come back. And then first day of military coup on the 1st February, our signal switch off. That is what happened. Then later we air back on this satellite dish owned by Thailand. Of course, this is a IPN in Chiang Mai, yellow one, and we are now airing on satellite dish, via this one. This is the Seas. The Myanmar authority is now putting down, now declaring that these are the illegal, and so you have to put down all these satellite dish. And now this is how they physically respond our independent media outlet. I will go a bit of background before the before the Honda, Coup Honda in the media space, So Burma, Myanmar is in terms of press freedom index, and in 2020 it was 139 out of 180 country. Now we are 140. I mean, 1 point slide, and I'm sure next year there will be. I mean, maybe we were next to North Korea and China about the media press freedom index, and also, when we're talking about, there is only allow state TV, Myanmar TV, and also the army. They have their own TV called Myanmar, and and they carried on. And there is 2 private TV operator called Skynet and Forever. They are a kind of joint venture with the government, but they're not allowed to do news. They are mainly entertainment. And then that's where we came in TVB. There is a new content provider in 2018, and under the government, they give us a kind of broadcast license. They call it digital broadcast license, so which is a very new, because in Burma, Myanmar, 17 years of broadcast, they said that broadcasting is owned by the state, so they don't allow any private. So that was the first one, and they do really good about. I have to give credit to the government, giving even the exact media like TVB or Myanmar giving the license. So we did enjoy this broadcast inside Burma. In terms of print, yeah, there is a heavily state in Burma. Burma, Myanmar has a state and army newspaper like New Lights of Myanmar or Global New Lights of Myanmar, joint venture with Japanese. And Mera is the state media, and Myanmar is the army media. They are the dominant of the state media. And the independence newspaper like 7 Days, The Voice 11, Standard Time, and also digital online. We do have a very digital like DVB. We have mainly on our own website and social media. On our social media, we have 14 million followers, and we are the most watched YouTube channel. And we are not alternative. I mean, the most watched mean I'm talking about millions of viewers on the YouTube channel. And many other media also using the digital platform as a new media, then this is before the coups. And also our media carried out on the mobile platform like SMS news or voice messages, that's also somehow we do generate income as well as reach, Myanmar mobile densities, it is 102 to 103, which means that if there is one Burmese, he may have a 2 SIM card. So a lot of mobile penetration is very heavy. So we media as a platform, we make sure that we reach to the audience. And then, of course, media crackdown. And these both are, again, that these are the all-time dish. And it's scary. I mean, there is a satellite footprint, mainly from Thailand or mainly from India. Mainly Thailand is very popular because there are many other channels, not only TVB or Myanmar, there are many other Thai channels and other channels, especially football. So these are very popular, but now this is what in Yangon that they cease. So this is the public's announcement to take off your satellite dish and return them and the last date is 16 April. If you fail to do so, you will face a severe punishment. This is what is inside Burma to block independent media flow. Then, and when army coups, of course, TVB channel was frozen along with many other channels, including state channel. Very interesting because Myanmar TV is a state. So the army cook even the government. Then, the MOI Ministry of Information minister was under house arrest, Payment, my very close friend. He stayed now under house arrest. Recently, they arrest Deputy Minister Aung Latun, long-time writers, journalist. Now he is also under house arrest. So this is on the first day, even they stopped. Only Army TV remain. And also, we are not exemption, all our 5 private channel signal free. Suddenly, we are no longer on air. But so how do we maintain? From the first day of coup and today is 88 days of coup, we don't stop. We only the platform change. We never stop because the independence information is vital to continue to inform Burmese people and inform international people what is going on in Burma or Myanmar. but it's not an easy. There is heavy price to pay for it. And of course, from my station, 4 are in prisoner and 5 are in warrantless. And most of my colleagues are become a refugee, IDPs. I by myself just recently arrived to one of the safer area. So this is only me. And also, and at the moment, and only 2 newspapers left, that's 8 days ago, and which is 11 recently resumed, and Standard Times. There is only that, and they ban all the mobile access in news application, and also limit internet. You know, I become an internet refugee in Yangon. I have to, you know, it is also very limited internet. You know, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Then the reason why they ban, I think it is first, of course, very clearly blocking the independent flow of information. Second, most important is they block soldier getting information, soldier and police, independence information. That is what the army captain defended, you know, from 77 light infantry. He said he got the information via Facebook, social media. That's why he decided to defend. So most importantly, army block internet is targeting their security forces, you know, soldier and police, not to get independence information. So, I mean, in Yangon, I have to make a decision whether if I want to, I have a 2 mobile access and they block. I have to make decision if I want to get internet access, I have to risk my life to get particular access. And then I have to do 2 risks. One is I got a story, whether am I going to air it, you know, getting story itself is also journalists are targeted. And chasing down on the ground. If they know you're a journalist, they will shoot you even with a sniper. They will arrest you deliberately. Even one Japanese journalist arrested in Sanjiang in front of me. He just wearing press, and then again he arrested him again recently for doing another one. So even, you know, this is the foreign journalists I'm talking about. So can you imagine about local Burmese journalists being handed down and deliberately and blocking all the information flow? And also a few media houses raided, and you know, like Myanmar raided, Myanmar now raided, and also on the this is the number of media workers and you know, like Professor Chosein said, now 72 media workers, journalists arrested, and 30 released, 42 remain and are arrested and charged with the 40 charged with the 505A incitement, you know, incite, you know. And also, and on top of that, every 8 p.m. on the Army channel, we got it exam result list. I'm every night, you know, I watch the Army TV. I never watch because of my name will pop up, and then, you know, I have to run for Diba hideout. So there is every night there is a warrant list, you know, mainly they include celebrities, movie stars, singer, and also of course journalists. And also so strange to drive around in Yangon. Usually I quite enjoy FM. Now all the FM is only tuning the English sound, because a lot of celebrities are on the CDM or on the protest. So another media ban is if you run story about those who are in warrant, and then you will be in trouble. That's why FM station, they no longer dare to tune Burmese sound. So they decided all the 70s, 80s, you know, all the Ben Jovis and all the Thet E-girls and, you know, all English sound. This is what happened even in big city like Yangon. And this is what Professor Chosein already covered within the 87 days, you know, and like 8.9 per day killing. And we didn't count today. I mean, it is on daily basis. There is ongoing killing, and it is much slaughter, not even, you know. I mean, it's happened. So, okay, this is what happened. Now, I mean, media currently, how Burmese get information, I mean, or how international get information. So now we became we were Exile Media before in 1988, 1992. Now we are Exile again. So in terms of broadcast, DVB and Myanmar, we continue our broadcast via satellite dishes, you know, using the type dishes. We are expanding our platform footprint to another satellite dishes. You know, there will be IPN, another yellow type dishes, and also the bigger CU band, big satellite dishes, 8V satellite dishes. And also we continue our Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. And they all ban, you have to use proxy, but every Burmese know how to use proxy, including soldier and police, they know how to use proxy. And also another source of information is a Burmese service like BBC Burmese, VOA Burmese, or RFA Radio Free Asia Burmese program. They continue their broadcast, mainly online or on TV or on there. And there is still very limited space remain. And also, I think Army want to divide media, like AOD, they are our colleagues, we were exiled, we went back together. They are not outlawed yet. They allow some space, but they are sued for particular stories. And another one is Frontier. Frontier also, they didn't revoke their license. Only 5 media houses revoked. DVB, Myanmar, 7 days. That is a big newspaper. They completely disappear, revoke. And Myanmar now is in exile. And also Chit is a digital media. They ban all these 5. And also it's not only banning our media, our license, but also they said that we are not allowed to produce any media, work on any media platform. That's why, once we decided to go on air, on satellite, we already breached, that's why we've been targeted and handing down at the moment, especially we have a bigger audience and footprint. I'm talking about millions, Facebook alone 40 millions. On our satellite dish, there are 6 million satellite dishes carry our signal. So there is potential 20 million reach. And so these reach are what the Army really worry. Because at the moment, only Army channel or state channel, they only airing, Army version of truth. That, we didn't shoot the dead on the head, they shoot themselves, that kind of stories, or misinformation. And also, interestingly, at the moment, because I came out just recently, youths and athletes, and they start to do, there is a amateur new media, both inside and on border. So newly amateur media, as of last 88 days, one is a PVTV, it's called Public Voice TV, and aired by a new TV National Union government. Also, they request that, if there is some content and DVB air, we agree to air, but we want to keep our independence because we have experience, with the exile government and CTUB in the old days. So we want to keep media as independent, but we will give some airtime, if their content is, embarrassed. So there is a new public TV, voice TV by NUB, Federal FM. I think my colleagues, saw Chit, he was quite right. And I know that who run that, they are run by the ethnic youths. And I like their name, Federal FM. Their content is very federally driven, youth-oriented content. And I give all my respect, but they dare to air inside Burma. I cannot disclose their location. So Public Voice TV is from border, and Federal FM running from inside Burma with the ethnic youth. And Molotov, it's a student union and newspaper. They circulate because internet access are limited, and also TV and other big media platforms are controlled by the Army. And if you want DVB or independent content, you have to install the satellite dishes as a very difficult. So students decided to do a kind of, that's remind me of 1988. I used to publish, Kabamate and newsletter. Now it's Molotov, 2 Watt. 2 Watt is also a student union, Revolutions. And these are all underground, mainly by the student union. I acknowledge their courage to do such, fighting news blackout or news vacuum, or only Army version of truth. That's how they are fighting back with the real news, what is going on. And also there will be new newspaper, again by the ethnic youth, called Federal Freedom Bloc. They request me interview. I never heard of this name, and I said, what for? And they said they're going to launch new underground newspaper. You will see it in 1 week in the future. They are at the moment processing. And again, it's not only from the student, youth, or exile or parallel government. there is also newly emerged ethnic media called Lagon A, Mon ethnic media. They start doing more languages, independent, newspaper. These are all newly emerged 88 days of military coups. These are some examples of the public voice TV. You can easily access this from my National Unity Government. It's on Facebook too. This is the Molotov student student newsletter. These are the federal FM. You can also online, and you can really tune in. And another one is a Revolution or 2WAT. 2WAT is very much progressive student union. They are newspaper. And so my conclusion, of course, by the role in independence and democracy, and also the vital role for successor Spring Revolution. And also we have to expose and reject the army media misinformation outlet. I mean, their intention is produce psychological warfare. This is the Burmese, let me show you. This is the current General Mentor who is running the army press. Now he is the deputy information minister, where the CNN media and the spokesperson, let me read out. It is a Brigade General Mentor. When I meet him at the media development conference, this is his card, and he said the deputy director of public relations and psychological warfare. So it is a psychological warfare office of the Commander-in-Chief Army. This is his card. This is the one who is running the state media and army media in Burma, USC. So the all media content is, clearly psychological warfare. So what we are doing, we are countering with the real news and biased independence news via all our platform or via all these, newly emerged platform. So one of my, suggestion is consolidate and strengthen these newly emerged alternative media, or not even alternative. We become a mainstream media, mainstream for the unbiased news and information. And also another important thing is, for ASEAN or for the West. I mean, Burma is already fed up with the international pressure, and we said that only our strength is within us. But we want only two things. One is internet access and freedom of expression, and we will win this fight. That's why, please make sure we got access, because I was 80-day internet refugee. It's very difficult to get internet access, and also very dangerous. What army doing is now only minded army run the digital company, mobile service company, telecom company. They are monopolizing for two reasons. One is for business, and they want to monopolize, and second is for the gateway. They own all the gateway. Only good internet is through minded army own telecommunication. They deliberately do this, and minded is two of the biggest army in Southeast Asia, owned by Vietnamese army and Burmese army. So they deliberately making internet access. So if ASEAN willing to help, find the alternative without internet access. The generations that, like Professor Chosein already elaborate, they will win this fight, and there will be democracy. So the internet access and also freedom of expression is one of the vital, and also there is digital rights, and also reject all the army, nonsense information. I mean, even they would say, like, there is a big protest in Yangon, and people said, big crowd visiting pagoda. They recently reopened Shutagong pagoda. That kind of line, bluntly nonsense. And also the girl who shot, like Professor said, in Naypyidaw, they said that bullet is not their bullets. So in the middle of Naypyidaw, come on, very heavily confined military area, and they bluntly said in their newspaper and in their TV that this bullet is not belong to army. So they said that this is the other demonstrator, killing her, the first veteran woman girl, 19 years of Naypyidaw. So that kind of content they are carrying out, So all the state media or army media began the fight a source of misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, psychological warfare. I don't like fake news. Fake news is Donald Trump. There is no such fake news. There is only misinformation. You can't fake the news. News is news. And also, please, don't let free media die. If free media die, there will be democracy die. So this is my presentation. Thank you.
Very entertaining in the very tragedy way when you said free media, no democracy. It's just very good wrap up about the story of the underground media and the 88 days of the director in Yangon, Myanmar. So congratulations again that you are now have at least a free media within my university. So now we have around 30 minutes from the talk. After the director, Chosein, mentioned about the media that came out, try to be blocked. And you can see that the equipment of the PSI has been seated over, near the tree. So it shows that they know the gateway to democracy in Myanmar seems to be a free speech, but they try to find ways to balance of, the message they would like to deliver all the things from inside to the outside. That's why you said that follow from what Professor Chosein mentioned, the media would be the tools to support this kind of evidence. So let's just get back to the flows, and probably someone in this room, a webinar, can have some questions. A few questions start. Any questions, please? And now, welcome. All right. You can talk in the chat box as well, I guess. I think I also want to, include some of the talk with Professor Chosein when you gather all kind of correspondence from, inside and outside. I'm sorry for not to be familiar with the location, but we try to bring the story into our, floor. You mentioned about you never go back into the previous day. What you did not mention about the possibility. Let's talk about that before we jump into the ASEAN submitting. Did you see something that after the director from current studies and also the media correspondent mentioned and Prof. Makiko already showed, what do you see about the situation? You mentioned about the good and the bad and the ugly. It's a possibility to see the worst case, like, for example, failed state. Before we become, ugly before the good thing happen. And it is my question to you first, sir. Can you open the microphone? We cannot hear you.
Thank you, Professor Nisit, for great moderation. And then you are the fantastic moderator. And I love to receive the question. Of course, your questions center on two. One is a possibility, and another one is you are asking about possibility is just making a new good things, or any outcome which has a positiveness, exactly. A positive contribution. Mm-hmm. Now you also center on another words. It's like what Professor Makiko said, probably transforming bad and ugly to become like a good, or ugly to become bad and bad to become good, or both bad and ugly to be transformed to become good. So these are the two aspects of your questions. Of course, there are, the determination by domestic audience, or you may say domestic actors or stakeholders are found. There are two domestic actors. One group is the military itself, and they know that they had already crossed the line too far. and too much, and they have already lost the country and the people. Then what the General Aung San did created to fight against fascists, and then the pre-independence era, the military, which people admire in the past, has been already gone, and the military people face now is thug, or a kind of like a gangsters, and then power abuses and destroy of the countries, and then also putting, even very dangerously, putting country under the another country's different kinds of influence. So even the sovereignty of the country could be in dangerous situation. So that is the point of no return that military face. On the people side, people consist of all the different categories, including the NUG, which present the people. And they also have already clear determination, and they will not go back to the dark ages. They will go forward and move forward, so that they will go on. So that these two actors were definitely collated. There's no other solution. It is already on the coalition course. So to diffuse that collating course, of course, there are two possibilities. The possibility created within country, and the possibility from outside. I won't say it is by ASEAN or like a UN, but UN alone may not be enough because of veto power hurdles, and ASEAN alone may not be enough because of lack of recognition or probably cautious optimism possessed by Burmese counterparts and so on, so forth. So that whenever, if there's like a special envoy ASEAN is going to assign, that special envoy shouldn't be only one person. The special envoy and UN special envoy and United Nations, the Human Rights Council special envoy. These all envoy need to be work in integrated fashion. Otherwise, it will be difficult to produce necessary result that you can interpret as a possibility. The possibility, what does possibility? Possibility to reduce the minus, that means saving lives and let humanity continue. As my colleague Do said, then freedom for media and also free flow of information and also free use of internet. So that means reconnecting Burma with outside world through information, media, technology. Otherwise, the both soldiers, police, and people will be framed with the limited flow of information. That means they're like a program information and misinformed information. At the time, outside are like actors, like ASEAN diplomats, or they say special envoy, or the other country leaders. They possess the real information, but due to the lack of information possessed by people inside, there will be mismatch. Outsider will have interest, say interest to create like a stability in the region, within Southeast Asia region, between the countries and across the borderlands and so on and so forth. Then also Western countries that the guarding the democracy and respecting the human interests. The common sense interest plus also business and the economic interest attached. But the insiders, so whatever outside possibility they are going to create are more or less related to interest. That interest is bigger interest than the audience of inside who possess the different interests. The interests insider possess are actually challenges and hardest to overcome. It is a life and death. So like, let me go back to the past scenario. When Aung San Suu Kyi was under house arrest, okay, outsider including Japan and ASEAN, okay, we will do something. Okay, we will secure the release of Aung San Suu Kyi from house arrest. That is enough. No, Burmese people, communities, and the whole society, including NUG, needs not a release of the arrested people. That's what the Drew also said. At the beginning of the demonstration, after the coup, there are two different types of demand. It's a competing demands. But now later, the main demand is to remove the military authoritarianism. So the main challenge what Burmese people and communities possess is the freedom and democracy and justice back. If it is a granting, the releasing all the people arrested on the day one of the coup must be automatic if there's a justice and rule of law and freedom and democracy, because they are unlawfully arrested. All the excuses are nonsense, as he said. So what the insiders or inside actors see as a possibility means is overcoming the life and death challenges. So what are these? Number one, the withdrawal for all the security forces and using lethal force against protesters. That need to be reframed. And to make this happen meaningfully, there must be the international, regional, civilian mixed with military, and all the monitors must be on ground. That should be brought out by the independent, the ASEAN, the envoy. And of course, dialogue should be, of course, but dialogue cannot be done by the accommodating only the, how to say, like a hijackers. There's an aeroplane hijack in the air, and then gasoline in the aeroplane, the wine run out and then landed. Now hijack aeroplane is landed at the airport, owned by some other countries. So ASEAN situation is like that. Aeroplane is safely landed with the hijacker and hostages who are passenger at the airport. Now is the right opportunity. Then UN, the international community, make hijack aeroplane to land it safely on ground at the airport. Now what ASEAN going to do, or what outsiders are going to do, must be very careful, and it is sensitive. For example, how could you deal in the case of hijacking case, hijack bus, hijack aeroplane? Then police and security officers all consider first priority is the safety of the passengers, hostages. Then they were de-dialogue with the hostage takers, hijackers, but they were not let them run away from the crime they committed. They have measures in the package of negotiation or dialogue. They have already planned measures, how to bring them to justice, how to punish them. So that ASEAN or UN envoy need to cleverly convince, okay, somebody from military can sit together with the envoy and the NUG and others for the negotiated settlement, but not the criminal from top to down who are responsible for case.
Okay.
That is necessary. The last point I want to say is that the military led by Min Aung Hlaing waged that General Min Aung Hlaing with this coup, but I don't think this is a one person like him craziness about enriching himself and then recontrolling power for himself and his generation. I think it is a collective movement. Senior and guardians and godfather of him and downstairs his subordinates, all who share the same interests are together. So the international side needs to understand that reality to create the possibility. Only when they see these realities, possibility can be make a tangible outcome. Thank you.
And it's very, very interesting points, because for the two next questions that the audience just presses on the chat box, let me ask the director Chosein can talk about this, because it's related to the peace process. He mentioned about one question like, what about the situations among the ethnic groups? Because it seems like the feeling of distrust among the ethnic groups of the mainstream, like the identity, like on the same tone that want to be the democracies in Myanmar, seems to be still in the process or not in a good way. What is your opinion about this, Director? Please.
So for this question, I would like to categorize three. The first is non-signatory. Those are not signing the ceasefire agreement with the government yet. But second thing is a signatory. Even in the signatory group, which is called PPST, Peace Process Steering Team, the composed of the 10 ethnic organization. But even in this PPST, the NCA signatory, they are the different ideas on how to move forward. Just after the military coups, the military created the three committee to negotiate and maintain with the ethnic organization. So what they clearly stated is they were maintain and they will keep holding the NCA agreement. Yes, that they have clearly mentioned. The second thing is, so they will try to implement any possible things is as per the NCA agreement. So that means that there will be some sort of small scale development, the project in this area. However, the military after the military coup, military tried to persuade these ethnic people to come together with them and to support them and to support the military coup. For example, one of the CEC members of KNU, they invite them to be the member of their military council. Yes, his name is Badu Manyema. Yes, and he joined to them. He joined to the military. He was a former KNU CEC. KNU was very angry on that, but getting him is not getting the KNU as well. KNU, as I already told you, KNU has the different perspective, and also they have a strong principle and the policy. So recently, I think 2 days ago, the military, the council, the call, the meet with the two ethnic organization and group. This is split group from the KNU, which is DKBA. Another one is the Peace Council, current Peace Council. They met with the Nebiro 2 days ago, and also what they said is we will keep maintaining NCA, and also so we won't break this agreement. So that sort of thing they said. And also the one most important thing is that on the ground, so they would like to force this organization to not to accept any of the politicians or the CDM staff. Those came and refused to this area. That's what exactly they wanted. So on the other hand, for the PPSD, they already have a 2 or 3 times the meeting regarding to whether are they going to align with the CRPH or not. But in the statement, the most people they carefully welcome, they carefully support to the CRPH. So yet in Burmese history, there's 3 types of conflicts. One is Burmese to Burmese. Burmese to Burmese being the military and the NLD, let's say. It has been fighting before. There was a democratic force at the time of the UNUT and the General Nguyen. Yes. Another is it's conflict between ethnic people and the Burmese, majority Burmese. That is what you see. Another types of conflict is a conflict between ethnic group. So even the Shan state would be the very clear example. So getting back to your question, so they are very diverse. There's a different views and different stand and different diverse in even in a NCA signatory group. However, they carefully welcome to the CRPH and CRPH approach. So if CRPH wants to, let me go to straight. If CRPH wants to get more support, CRPH has to be, I think, there has to be more. How shall I say? They have to be must have a recognition, and they need to acknowledge the existence of this organization. So P is not going for anyway. The KNU response is in this agreement. There's a many stakeholders such as the government, the parliament, and also an organization and the terminal or the military. Now military is only taking this power. So. What KNU said is it can be happen only after or resuming of the civilian government or returning of the civilian the elected government. So it can only happen. Let me add one point.
Please.
Let me add one point regarding to the Professor Chosein said. So now, so the ASEAN organization and the leading by the KNU, what they are considering is they would like to have a national mediation committee combination with internal and external forces. Internal forces mean a political party, the ASEAN organization, civil society organization, the strike committees, that sort of thing, and also combination with the NCA witness, the witness, those who sign in the NCA agreement. Let's say United Nations, the European Union, maybe China, and plus ASEAN special envoy. So now they are trying to propose to have this mediation committee. I don't know whether it's going to happen or not, but they are trying. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very interesting points from, like the recognitions and also the step-by-step of welcome and also the harmony of the, like this kind of democracy, in Myanmar. So that's another question. Then when you mentioned, Director Saul mentioned about the voice from outside. Then I had another one question about the statement by China, officials mentioned not that long ago about when China said a soft landing by not going inside and intervene, it will lead into the turbulence. It seems like the expressions as a crisis in Myanmar seems to be the internal problem of being hijacked. And what, the speakers really think about softly landing without the external problem. Is that possible, especially from the neighbors countries like China or Japan? So maybe the media side from the Director Tor and also the Makiko would like to add to this from Japan and also maybe the China. What do you think about soft landing without the external intervention?
Okay, China.
Director first, please.
Yeah. At the beginning, we said it's not. They even say administration change. They didn't even say military coups or that is from China. And Burma, Myanmar, very unfortunate to have a neighbor country, such a powerful superpower country like China. This is our unfortunate things. And of course, China is not a democratic country. Or there is a documentary called on BBC, China's are coming. Or the red carpet they are throwing to all the data from Africa or you name it, or Libya or all the Chinese friends. Their reputation is not very good. And at this crisis as well, I mean, of course, Chinese also they having a very headache because Xi Jinping visited Myanmar in 2020 January and Aung San Suu Kyi. There is a 33 agreements, including from OBOR to all other deals, and there was a foreign minister visit before the coup, and without knowing that there will be coup, and then sign another 6 agreement. So I think even China are very uncomfortable. But of course, Chinese way of doing they always with the state center approach. They don't consider many other. That is our very unfortunate. They are very realist assumption of state, and whoever in power. But I mean, at this moment also must be very uncomfortable because what is going on in Burma, like Professor Chosein already mentioned, 756 people die, almost 8 to 9 people dying a day, and Chinese factory burned down, and there is a very potential threat of burning down our Chinese pipeline from Yunnan, and there are lots of Chinese interests. All these 33 trade agreement Xi Jinping and Aung San Suu Kyi made, and I think, but I mean, as a Chinese, even, they go too far from Africa to all around, like Zimbabwe, Libya, they are all treated on their side because of their political system is very much top down. So I think it is very unfortunate like that. Burma is neighbor to such a powerful country. And I don't think they are going to change unless there is real threat to their interest. And also there is a 2 battalion Chinese army on Burmese border. Worrying that if there is a Western invasion and then, probably Mandalay were already taken over by them. That, there is no way they're going to tolerate about territorial control. Burma having a neighbor. So these are the, uncomfortable realities, So it is, very hard to say, but I don't think Chinese stands, they are like non-interference or only want to deal with the realist notion of state or people in power. That is our unfortunate fate for Burmese Myanmar for a long time.
Uncomfortable feeling from the neighbors like Myanmar. So what about the feeling of the Japanese government in this term? We used to discuss about it a little bit, but Makiko, would you like to express this kind of the opinion, please?
I think as already mentioned, and China has economic interest, and so China has becoming uncomfortable with the situation. But I will not think that China changed the attitude and on this the issues, and because they want to keep the economic tie with the military. So I'm rather pessimistic on this point. And on the other hand, and the second point and that was raised, and so without intervention, and is it possible to overcome this? And I would hope so. And with the internet access and the free independent medias, and so I hope this will overcome this. But I'll say I have, and they also need definitely the outside intervention, I think. And the one is probably coordinated, and the actions is necessary. And because the UN, UK, and European countries, as well as Japan, they are not really united, and in the same way as the ethnic groups are not really united underneath. And so, and also Japan also, as I mentioned in the presentation, and they have their own stand and not to impose the sanction. That is really sad reality. So, but that kind of things is necessary. But maybe one solution that I don't think it is solution, but if we really want to make China move, maybe some sort of action toward China maybe is easy shortcut. that I feel, because with this situation, China is not going to change. But when, as Toh said, and when China threatened their own, China's economic interests are threatened, so they may move. And so that kind of situation should be created by the collective actions of, I think, external actors. That I think.
I think we are now having, the times have been very, very, very short, and I'm very, like delighted to see a lot of the opinions and the perspective from different types of view. From myself, like I have small question and probably ask Professor Chosein, or someone can add it in just like less than 5 minutes before I get the conclusion. The international community try to use the same tools like we have, like sanction and boycott, and by using the economic dimension and pressure. But when you saw that kind of experience and the evidence, like it hurts the people, not the Tamador itself. What that will be the next move for very engaging direction, from Myanmar. I think that probably the conclusion will give the guideline and the will of the audience, of the people, to watch and look at the Myanmar in the short and the medium and in the very quick move. Professor Chosein.
Thank you for your last question or the invitation. I think the easiest the response and then how to say the shortcut answer is that in this world, when we have the problems or crises that affect the humanity and lives of people, and also involve or bring other countries to consider, because they will also receive the spillover. The best thing, in my view, my personal view, is that standardization, their universal values, the global treaties, and international understandings regarding any aspect, regarding human rights or freedom or the humanity or democracy or whatever. Forget about political or ideological differences or the governing system differences. But human beings need the same thing. One, the same thing, the same standard. The society also grow with the same factors. The economy, same thing. So that if we stick to the standards without using too much about substandard things by stating, say, ASEAN way or African way or Chinese way or Burmese way to socialism, without sticking or creating such pseudonym-based substandardization, I think Burmese people and Burmese society suffer for 70 years if we count it from 1950s. The rice bowl of the war in Asia to become the poorest, one of the LDC, and just getting just able to stand up again with the fresh air, with the freedom, and suddenly then push them back into the cage. So if the neighbors, if the regional organization, if the international community compromise with what kind of standard that we apply to China, US, Europe, and Asia, Africa, should be used as a standard for this particular crisis, there will be grounds. There will be common ground to make a diplomatic package as a starting point. And I don't think China will be happy if Burma is a fragile state, even though at the beginning it may have advantage through the authoritarian military, but it won't be for long. When Burma resources are empty, Burma will be just a buffer zone before China use against India. So I don't think China will be happy if Burma is collapsed or in fragile states. So China needs to think, and ASEAN also need to think, shouldn't be too late and too little this time. Because of ASEAN's interferences or China's initiative, which are too different from UN and war standard. That is one point. Second point is that in Burma, military also crossed the line and reached no point to return, and people side too. China shouldn't be in that scenario. If China continue standing with the military, and if the whole country and society and people inside Burma feel too much antagonism against or pessimistic about China's action, in the coming history of the future, it will be very difficult for China to nicely work with Burma in the long term. Burma cannot be Myanmar or Tibet or Uyghur or Inner Mongolia. Therefore, China must realize that, and ASEAN has the leverage to compromise with China, and UN and outside Western democracy can facilitate the environment towards getting the common ground that should be standard-based, based on universal values. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Director Chit, you have any final statement you want to post? Okay. Director Cho? Okay. Professor Makiko. Okay. So I think to the time that has been spent for almost 3 hours, it shows that Myanmar, the next normal, seems to be to find a way, and any kind of intervention, any kind of dialogues, and confronting with the voice of the people inside the ethnic groups, and the voice that have the same tone should be come out from inside China. But we need to have some things, the complexities of the world, and the things that we are now dealing with have so many come with so many directions, like coronavirus. But the human security is so meaningful, and Myanmar will be with us. And that is the voice from the scholars, the 3 speakers today. So I would like to say thank you very much, Professor Chosein, Professor Makiko from Aichi University of Japan, and also Director Soshi Tenshun from the Korean Institute of Strategic Studies in Myanmar, and also the 88 days of the story from the media side of Operation Director of DYB, the roles of independent media. So I still remember from what you said, okay? No media, no democracy. Thank you very much for all of you. So we would like to say another things like this, but in the near future, I would like to keep in touch and welcome for all of you with the Center of ASEAN Studies, Chiang Mai University. Thank you very much once again. And
thank you very much
from Chiang Mai. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Very good discussion.